We're talking with Suzanne Harbin. Suzanne is running for a fourth term on the Cullman City School Board. Suzanne, to begin with, tell us a little bit about yourself, some background.
Okay, well, I have been living in Cullman pretty much my entire life, except for a short span of time when I was in college. And my parents, my dad actually grew up here, and so he returned here after about 4 years away in college, and so since that time I've been here. And my entire professional life I've been employed at Wallace State Community College. I didn't intend for it to happen that way, but it did. I started out in that at the college as a part-time tutor and really thought I was going to be an educator, and I just took a different turn and became an educator at the community college level instead of the middle school level. And so I've been very active in the community here, and my children all went to Cullman. My husband went to Cullman, so I'm pretty invested in the community.
I would say so. Why did you want to run for the school board for the first time several years ago?
It's interesting. I was friends with Dr. Jim Hoover, and they had a position that opened up on the board from a board member who moved out of the city limits, and so she had just a little bit of time left on her term, and he approached me and said, would you be interested? They're able to appoint if somebody vacates a position. And so he asked me if I'd be interested, and I said, well, let me think about it. At that time I was on the East Elementary PTA. My background at the college is for resource development funding, and I had talked with Jim several times about ways that we could provide more resources to the city schools. At that time, we had just come out of a very, very deep hole financially. In fact, we were really on the verge of the state coming in, taking us over. We had just depleted our reserves, and we were just running on a shoestring. We had had proration for several years, and so that was kind of my hook, I guess. And he came to me and said, would you consider it? And I said, well, yes, I'll try it for a little bit. I think I served about 9 months, and then I had to run. So the next time I decided to make that choice to run again.
And thinking back, some of the accomplishments, there's a lot of things have happened with the city schools since you've been on the board.
They're really, it's so hard because when you asked me that to start with, I said, well, give me a minute to think about it, because it's really hard to narrow in on the ones that are most important, because it's the part that makes up the whole. And I think probably to start with, since we started talking about finances, I think the fact that we have reserves now, we're very healthy financially. We have a good reserve. If proration were to ever occur again, we could depend on that, and we have. And so I think that starts, the process, because not that money solves everything, but it is very important. So I'd say a healthy reserve. We have almost 3 months in reserve, and the state requires 1. So I think we've come a long way from having less than 1 month. And that's about $1 million, so that gives you an idea of what it takes to get to almost 3 months reserve. And then I think the facilities upgrades that we've done, we can still do more. I know space has been a big topic among the candidates and among the community, but I think what we've done at the high school is exceptional. I went to school in A and B building. I know how terrible the bathrooms were there. There's some safety issues, and so the high school renovation has been one of the things I'm most proud of. A lot of people kind of criticized us about the stadium and the turf, but when you look at what we've been able to bring to the community using that as a facility, and the number of students who use that facility, it's not just football. Band uses it, soccer uses it, baseball uses it, track, cross country. Everybody is using that facility, so I think it's money worth invested, and we were lucky enough to get bond money to do that. Then I think the facilities upgrades at the elementary schools have been very important. I'm really thrilled that we had enough money left from the high school project. We were able to invest in West Elementary, which really needed some windows, brand new windows there, some painting and some expansion that we're looking at to make things a little more safe over there with some awnings, and that's still to come. But I think those are probably the things that I'm most proud of. And then the last thing would be the strategic plan. I have been talking about a strategic plan for about 7 or 8 years, and when Dr. Patterson came on, I said to her, while you're interim, that's what I want to happen. I want to have a strategic plan for our system, and so she's really done that. And we have great goals, and it's a lot of community input, faculty, staff input, board member input, parent input, and I think the goals and objectives we've set, and really the benchmarks and the things that we've put in place to monitor those, to make sure we're achieving what we say we're going to achieve. It's great. It's a roadmap for our future.
For people who aren't familiar with a strategic plan, just briefly tell us what it is.
A strategic plan is really a roadmap for the school system. What we want to do is say, and this is the way I look at it, is what do we want to see from our school system 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What do we want to have accomplished? And one of the things that we really worked on was, what do we want a Cullman High School or a Cullman City Schools graduate to look like? What skills do they need? What do they need to have? We have our motto that, is character, citizenship, and scholarship, but what does that really mean? And so I feel like the strategic plan really spells that out, that we know we want our graduate to have the skills they need to be successful in work and in life. We know that we want them to be academically prepared for whichever path they choose for their life. And we know that we want to support teachers, because if we don't support our teachers in professional development and ongoing learning and allowing them to grow, then our students certainly can't grow. And then obviously facilities is a big one, and resource development to support those for technology and also space.
You mentioned that you do have a plan to monitor how you're doing. Mm-hmm. Is this something that is updated each year?
Yes. It's really even updated almost quarterly. It depends on what the benchmark is. Test scores, we've set our goal on test scores to improve our test scores. We have great test scores, but as a whole, the state doesn't have great test scores on the Aspire, which is our state assessment. And so we really want to do that. So that's an annual update. But things like professional development for teachers and ensuring that we're providing the right coursework or the right incentives for teachers to do professional development, we can update that really on a quarter or a semester basis.
Looking at the future, the strategic plan, of course, we'll talk about the near future, but what would you like to see in another term on the board?
I want to complete the implementation of the strategic plan. We've done a lot, but we still have some more to do. I think, as I've mentioned, space is an issue. It's interesting because a lot of people have talked about the population. If you look around and you see the retail growth in our community and the industrial growth, you'd think, wow, the population of Cullman is growing exponentially. And really what's happening is the population itself is not growing, but we have people moving in and people who want to move into the city limits, and we're kind of tight on space in the city limits. We can't really expand it except for a few locations. So I think preparing for that and how we work with the county school system so that we're working with out-of-district students who want to come to city schools, that's probably our main focus for strategic plan for this upcoming term. And then one thing that I've really been passionate about is planning for extracurriculars. We have a lot of extracurricular offerings for our students, and if we have a new program that comes or that wants to be added to our system, we don't really have a plan for that. It just happens, They just come up and go, hey, we're going to start a bass fishing team. Okay, great, what do you need? And so we're really not prepared for that. So I want to put some things in place that'll plan for staffing of that, resources for equipment. I'm not going to go out and buy a bass boat, but equipment to support those and the facilities. That all needs to be a part of this coming term. In my mind, it does.
Suzanne, to close, tell the voters why they should vote for you.
Well, I'd like for people to support me, and I would appreciate their support, because I feel like over my 25-year career in education that all I've ever done and all I've ever known is preparing students for the future, no matter their path, whether or not they're going to work, whether or not they're going to college, whether they're going to a technical school or the military, whatever their path is, that's what I've done. And I've done that through partnering with multiple school systems, not just Cullman City Schools, but also with business and industry. I'm really involved in the community. I really feel like I have the pulse on what's going on and what I hear from our local employers. And that's really ultimately when a student graduates from Cullman City Schools, you want them on the right path and you want to know that they have the skills they need to be successful in life. And I feel like I have the relationships built to do that. I feel like I have the knowledge of the board. It's a steep learning curve to be on the school board. Really takes almost a full term just to learn your role, your responsibility, the terms that people throw around in education, because we're great at acronyms in education. And so I really feel like that experience is really key. It'll be key to moving us forward, because we do have a big task ahead of us if we're going to do something about our space. Either we're going to expand in facilities, or we're going to do, there's been talk about realignment. I don't know that I support that at this point, but I'm open to that. So I think that the experience is going to be essential.
Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne Harbin, candidate for the City School Board.